welcome once again to Conscripted, episode 65. A lot less players around the table this session. So, Maldronicus Ironhand, how did you get here? In a room surrounded by a bunch of reptile-faced creatures staring at your near-naked body.
Somewhere in there's a bad decision. But I could just chalk it up to bad luck. But essentially I had to get back to land. There was a really risky option of trying to teleport, but if that went badly, I could have ended up even further away or something. So I opted to take sort of a try to swim approach, not knowing what islands were nearby. So I just swam and found sharks, and they seem to have brought me to this island. Interesting situation, kind of on my own for the first time since I joined the conscripted party. I'm without one of my master armors that have become so characteristic of me. I'm just me, my talking sword, and a bunch of reptiles.
As you open your eyes and you see these creatures around you, you can feel a familiar feeling sort of falling into your, almost like it's falling into your hand, or almost like you've been holding it the whole time. And you can hear the voice in your head. I know these things, Maldronicus. I know them well. They wish to dissect you, I'm certain.
Could they maybe be reasoned with a little bit? I probably don't taste very good. I've been in the ocean for a very long time.
Perhaps these are much lower on in the pecking order. These would be the kind of people that my family would have do menial tasks.
Your family? You're saying... actually, what check is this to identify these? Arcana or local? Or...
You can give me a knowledge history here to identify these. And it's going to be pretty high, but you've interacted with some stuff that gives you some clues. Ooh, unfortunately not there, though.
Can you just describe them a little bit more?
Yeah, they're short. So they, like, the table you're on seems like it's probably pretty low to the ground. They are very, like, scraggly, poorly dressed. Like, they have a lot of tattered robes that they're wearing. They have faces that look kind of like a, almost like a lizard, or maybe like a lizard and a snapping turtle kind of blended together. But like they have these kind of longish necks, really light on fur, much more scaly overall, with like not really sharp, but sharper than typical talons. And they kind of walk with a hunch, and they make a lot of yipping noises back and forth to each other.
And so am I just laying there on the table and they're just off doing their stuff, or
they're sort of standing around you, and as you open your eyes, they've all kind of like frozen for a moment, as if like maybe if they stand still, it won't see us.
I'm just gonna kind of sit up and just be like, ah!
As you sit up, you realize your hands are chained down, but you can sit yourself up, and they'll all like kind of like scurry back for a moment and start yipping back and forth to each other. Give me a linguistics as they're yipping. Ooh, yeah. So you'll realize, like, as you're listening to their yipping, there is some familiar patterning in the way that the tones are coming out. And you'll realize their voices are speaking like a very distoned draconic. Like you can pick out words from between the noises that they're making, but they have like this like sound that goes along with it, so it can be very difficult at first to tell what it is that they're saying.
gonna, I'm gonna grow out my hair. I'm gonna point to myself with it because my hands are still kind of tied in. And I'm just gonna point to myself and just say the draconic word for friend. Me friend.
They all start screaming to each other for a moment, just yipping back and forth about like, I don't know, can we trust him? I don't know if we trust him. Can we trust him? He might kill. He's got sword. Sword came nowhere. Him eyes. Oh god. You. One of them finally steps forward. You friend.
I came to help. Maldronicus, not violent.
Maldronicus. Yes.
My name, I believe, relates to your tongue in ways.
No.
Oh, fine.
Not that I know. I don't know any Maldronicus.
Well, could you be so kind as to tell me where I am?
Oh yeah, you in Dragon's Cove.
Okay, I suspected as much.
How you get here? You should be dead.
You
very waterman.
I was hoping you could answer some of that. How long have I been out?
Many hours.
Could you quantify that? Give me
No, we know have watch.
Oh, okay. How many meals have you had while I've been unconscious?
Not good measure. We eat lots. Sometimes we eat lots. Sometimes we not eat a lot. Depend on day. We fish. We find man. Think about eating man.
I just speak telepathically. Did you lose consciousness too?
When you lose the ability to kind of look around, my vision sort of limits itself. They were very interested in you, but without you being able to kind of look around, I'm not able to really move about in a reasonable way. And so my vision is rather limited. I was worried though, but I figured you would wake up. I was shouting for you to wake up. I don't know if that helped.
Well, you know me, party to the last drop.
I think it was less about partying and more about not breathing. But I will say that it's been probably at least the better part of the day. There doesn't seem to be a lot of light here, so it's very hard to tell about what kind of time passed.
Okay, well, that's okay so long as it hasn't been months. Can't have that scumbag Arius / Erebos letting the bodies degrade. So we have to get out of here one way or the other, Ayun. I don't, if we're as far away as you think we are, if we're honestly in Dragon's Cove, it's going to be a bit of a endeavor to get back out.
It's going to be a very big endeavor. No one has ever left Dragon's Cove, and no one is allowed in.
Can you think of any reason why Deshret, the god of the sea, would have sent me to here?
I don't think I have any ranks in knowledge religion.
Are there any known enemies of the Drakes?
Well, perhaps, now that I think about this, my family is very interested in growing the landmass of Dragon's Cove. We have been spending some time sending out missions where we dig up the ground and supplant it into the area around the island. There are tunnels that used to be deep beneath us that are now no more, and there is merely empty ground held up by what we realized mathematically was enough to keep it in its place. Dragon's Cove is now probably twice the size it was a long time ago, if not more.
And who is making these decisions to keep growing the island?
My family.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
They are at the center of things. but no one would acknowledge they exist. The best you would be able to do is meet with the high kobolds, and they would be willing to discuss with you what their plans are, if you could even convince them to do so. But that's very unlikely.
Yeah. Words are not exactly my thing. I suppose if there's any chance of impressing them, we're gonna have to show them that we're worth something to them.
That is exactly how they determine whether or not something is useful here and worthy of being spoken to.
I guess first things first, we have to show these little friendly fellas that we're no harm. But
just make sure you make it clear that you're not easy to eat also.
Oh, I believe my dancing hair display has already convinced them of some extent that. But I'm gonna stop my conversation on you and sort of go back to talking with these guys.
Mm-hmm. You get real quiet. Why you get so quiet?
Sometimes thinking before you speak is a trait that more people could use to do better at.
Sounds stupid. You talk when you talk. When you think, you talk. Talk to think. Very easy do.
Whatever you say, little friend. Do you have a name?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yep. Nice to meet you. Is there any way I could convince you or help you with some problem you're having to perhaps alleviate the situation we're in where
we make you slave and you fish, yes?
See, I would argue that fishing would be a very big waste of my talents.
Oh, what's your talents?
Well, I would like to think I'm a very gifted historian, but I'm gonna guess you're not.
What is a historian?
Yeah, it's someone that tells stories, but in an accurate enough manner such that they can transcend generations.
What are generations?
Well, at some point there was probably a Yip Senior, and at some point there might be or already is a Yip Junior.
Senior? What do you mean by senior?
Big Yip.
Ah, Big Yip. Yes, bigger. You mean bigger Yip.
Older Yip.
They're bigger Yip and then bigger Yip and then bigger Yip.
Yeah, exactly. Those are generations if they're older than you, I guess.
Oh, generations like bigger and bigger and bigger.
This is close enough to the understanding we're gonna have on this. Let's go with that. But if my history skills aren't of use, perhaps I could be put to work. I'm very good at crafting.
What you craft?
I kind of look down at their table.
You make new fishing poles. Better fishing poles.
Could I?
They're kind of like weapons.
Well, so my
oh yeah, your thing's armor. That's right, in furniture. You might be able to still use that. I would give you half your. I would give you like half your bonus towards it.
Okay. I could try, but looking at your table, like how do you even prepare your fish? Wouldn't you want a much better device than this?
What's wrong with table? Table is fine. Table shake a little, and they push you and you like rock a little bit on the table.
Table shakes. Table has no mechanism for steadying fish. Table
steadying fish. What is steady fish?
You do at least cook your fish, right?
Sometime.
Trust me, Yep. You must understand, the best delicacies are nice, well-cooked fish.
How you cook?
Well, That's what you need a better
You hold
table
over
for.
fire, right, and hope not burn too much?
But before you do that, you have to take the scales off. You don't want the prickles in your mouth. And to do that, you need to have a nice
Those come
carving.
off?
Yes.
How do they come off? No, you being silly. Big man silly. He think you could take scalies, pointies off.
I think
You take off with teeth, right? Like,
I think we can make a lot of progress here, Yip. I think I can build you a better table. I think you'll see how good that meal is, and you'll immediately understand that I'm much better suited for making things for you guys than chained to a table.
Okay, you make table, but stay chained to table while you make table.
As so long as I have enough chain to motion.
We get you more chain.
That seems understandable to me, little Yip.
Okay, this table better be big fix table.
Okay, I certainly hope so. I'm gonna just start taking a glance at the wood. How does the wood look?
It is very low quality wood. Like the fact that this table is keeping you up is it in and of itself is kind of impressive. Like you feel like if you were to jump on this table, it would break immediately.
Okay. I'll need to see if I have any. You wouldn't happen to have any trees nearby, would you?
We got no trees, but we have wood.
Could you perhaps bring in some of that so that I have something to replace the faulty boards?
Yes. Go get wood. Go get wood. And like 4 of them go rushing out.
Gonna see if I have any, but if they have wood, that makes it easier. Otherwise, I was gonna have to see if I can conjure wood somehow, which I don't think there is anything for. Could turn myself into a tree or something and then cut my limbs off. As we kind of wait for the wood to be brought back, I guess I'll just wait for them to sort of extend my chain so I can get a better look at the table.
Yeah, a couple of them will come along and they'll a couple of them are holding these pointy sticks at you. Well, a couple of the others are working on tying or connecting another chain to your chain, so that you've got more length. Okay, you good?
I think so. So what do? I guess there probably are nails already in the table. I can probably reuse the nails. Unless if they have fresh. They
have some miscellaneous bits and pieces that they can bring in as well with the wood as it comes in.
Good. Well, I suppose I'll start getting to work.
I expect great table.
I will do my absolute best, Yep. And I guess I'm just gonna start looking around the table.
Yep.
Trying to see what's causing it first off to be unstable. I assume somewhere it's just not balanced, or if the floor isn't balanced, I'm gonna pad the base with a more sort of flexible pad so that it stays level even on bad surfaces.
Yeah, give me an engineering check as you're looking over all this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, this table was not built with the same pieces. You're noticing as you finally can get off of it and look around at it. This has different legs on it. Each leg is a different leg. The floor looks like it's various different pieces that were kind of hobbled together. As you start looking around at the walls are kind of the same way. Whatever wood or sheets of lumber that have come by, they've just kind of managed to hobble together to get this building into place.
I have a sinking suspicion, that we might be replacing this whole house at some point.
I don't think. I hope that's not necessary. That would draw a lot of attention to these little ones.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, we should try to be discreet. Something you should know about these types is they often settle in small groups, and they tend to be very jealous of each other, and jealousy often leads to violence. And the goings on of the lessers aren't meddled in by the higher ups. So if a group of kobolds were to kill another group of kobolds, we would merely watch as one slays the other handful. We would take no action in what occurs. There will always be more.
And what? It's sure it could have changed, but what percentages of the population would you estimate occupy here? How many are these kobolds? How many are regular dragons and so forth?
Well, there are but only 3 of the 3 dragons that run here. The bulk of what you will see are either kobolds or human slaves, or the high kobolds. Or, of course, you might be lucky enough to see one like me, but we tend to operate less direct.
Very well. I don't suppose trying to end slavery here is going to go well. Probably shouldn't lead with that. Maybe start with something more obnoxious and then downgrade to slavery.
Well, slavery here is kind of a family tradition. It can be quite honorable to be a slave to one of the higher families.
I do know. How is it things that bad here that being a slave is a privilege?
Things here are bad, but they have their own way of being good. The life of a slave is oftentimes better than the life of these creatures out here. As a slave, your risk of death isn't dependent upon someone else thinking that that rock you have is slightly more polished than the rock they have.
I see. Well,
this is also a society run by dragons that keep themselves in secret and wish the secret to be maintained. Chaos, violence, and control are paramount to this city.
So, I suppose even after we figure out a way out of here, we'll still have to figure out a way to have some reason for existing in the society. Is there a lot of armorers or anything on Dragon's Cove?
There are, but most of them work directly with the high kobolds to produce armor for the military, for our military and our guards.
So it may take a number of connections to get to there, but...
Well, I can sort of help escalate this. If you can get us out of here with this idea you have, then I should be able to guide you to the places you can go and get you to the people we need to figure out what the next steps are.
That would seems good to me.
You'll need to take my lead though here. This is my home territory and I do know my way about things.
Yes, I've always been slow to accommodate to new cultures, so I will do my best to follow, and I'll try to say as little offensive things as I can, but sometimes that's easier said than done with me. And I'll just keep going back to the table.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a craft check.
All right. Hey.
Ooh. As usual, always impressive. Yeah, so you get to work on the table. And what's some of the stuff you're going to add to this table? I mean, obviously balancing it out is first and foremost.
First, I want to get a little stable. Second, I want to replace any really waterlogged pieces of wood that definitely are like about to fall apart.
Yep, you find quite a few of those and can peel them up and get new planks into place.
When I basically want, to the best of my ability, to install like a clamp mechanism for descaling fish. So you could essentially like put a fish down and then clamp something on its tail and then skin the fish off, or the scales off.
Okay.
Basically build them a full like kind of modern day scaling setup.
Okay. Yeah, give me an engineering check for the clamping system. There's not a lot of resources here, but you can manage to get together enough stuff to put together kind of a rudimentary thing that's just kind of like they'll have to put their hand down on it a bit to hold it in place, but it applies more force than what their hand would put down if they were pushing on it.
And then probably maybe one of the last things is like, so that would kind of go off towards the end of the table, and then I could have like maybe like a bucket or something that can be like sort of pulled out like a trash can that you can sort of slide the scales in and then get rid of the scales or do whatever they will with the scales if they're like a valuable thing to them.
Yeah. Very, very good. So you are working on this and probably not gonna finish it in a single day, but probably over a couple of days you'll manage to get it together. They will feed you in fish. But it's raw fish, so you can ask about cooking. You can ask, what would you ask if you just tossed a raw fish?
If it doesn't scare them, I mean, I guess I could just set Ayun on fire and kind of just sort of roast it.
Well, it does scare them, but not like when they realize what you're doing, they just kind of like stand back and watch in kind of awe and terror.
I'm kind of trying to play the double game here, Ayun, making sure that they don't think that I'm edible either. So I want them to sort of be a little afraid of me. But obviously not doing it in like a aggressively violent way.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just probably cook my meals like that if I can do that then.
So yeah, it's a very crude way to cook a fish, but yeah. it's enough that you can eat it without. Give me a wisdom check, actually. So I don't think you have any ranks in profession cook. So give me 2 profession checks here, or 2 wisdom checks here.
Okay, these both have +2s on them. I still haven't figured out how to program that. But...
Yeah, that's fine. You can keep yourself from getting sick. The most important part of cooking any food.
Yep.
And you'll get the table finished up for them. And so on the day that you finish it, they'll bring you in your fish and give me your sales pitch about the table.
I'm gonna be like, okay, friends, have you ever oh gosh, I'm really bad. Have you ever stuck a fish in your mouth and then been like, oh, that scale didn't taste good?
They never taste good. You got bite them off. You take it, you bite one by one and pull them with your teeth.
So what if I could tell you that through engineering, or that's through putting stuff together, that you can never have to taste a scale ever again?
I think you're lying.
Well, watch right here, friend. I'm gonna take a fish. I'm gonna sort of like slap its tail down on like the clamp, and then with like Ayun at +5, so she's just super fine. Just kind of rake the scales off really nice, and then sort of flip the fish. Do the same thing on the other side, and then kind of like take it like on a stick and ask if I can use their fire for that once.
Yes, we make fire.
So I kind of just hold the fish over the fire and just like wait to see until it sort of like cooks a nice like whatever color that I'm used to seeing.
Give me a wisdom check while you're doing this.
Okay. I don't want it to be perfect, but just
it's all right.
But just enough that it looks like it's not like the like the gray color of like uncooked fish, essentially, but not knowing when is the perfect amount to cook it. But and then I'll just kind of hand him the stick.
He takes it and. Oh, this better. And then other people start like grabbing the stick and they start fighting over the stick.
It can make as much as you want. You guys don't have to fight.
As much as we want.
It wasn't a one-time thing. That's why I built it. You can use it as much as you want.
Really?
Yeah. Did you want? Okay. Watch me this time, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna make sure they're all paying attention, and I'm gonna show them how to do it so that they can kind of learn how to do it themselves.
Okay, they're gonna keep you here a couple more days because they are not going to be able to grasp this for a little while. But eventually they'll say, "Okay, we agree. This better."
I imagine like at day 2 of this, of me trying to get them to get it, I probably like make like a carving in the wall of like the steps to use the board, of just like where there's like a carving of like whatever these kobolds, and then like a fish on the table, and then the clamp, and then like a knife, and like just like trying to streamline this for them as much as I can. But
I think we get it. I hope. But you not so bad. We let you go. You probably die when you get it up there anyway, but if you die though, we probably eat you. You probably taste better than fish.
I don't know. I've been through a lot of bullshit. I think it might be soaked into me at this point. But if you really want, I suppose I'd rather be eaten than have my body go to waste.
Oh, good. Okay. So
just make sure I'm actually dead. Please.
So when you die, we get eat you.
Yes. Just please make sure I'm actually dead.
Good deal, right? And he puts out a little claw.
All right.
Yeah, when you die, we eat you.
But
and all of them start kind of licking their lips for a moment.
God. Tell me, yep. Well, why do you think I'm going to run into immediate trouble as soon as I go up there?
Oh, you not like anyone else. You different color.
Oh, it's one of those societies, eh?
Well, like normal human, not your color. Normal human, like dark color or light color, but not in between color like you.
Oh, that is a good observation, friend. Let me see. Oops, what did I do? I full screened myself. So is Ayun, speaking in my head again, is that mostly true to your understanding? Probably if I could look more orcish or elven, it would be much better for us.
Your better option is actually to look more human and try to pretend as best you can that you're a freed slave. Something that does rarely but occasionally happen.
Okay. I'm level 11. Let's see if I want to do this. If I wanted, should I be under the impression here, Ayun, that if we get into any fights that we are just done for regardless?
I don't think so. I would avoid fights at all costs. There are the guard and a number of the wizards that work in the town might make short work of us. But if you get into a little scuffle, like for example, somebody questions your right to your freedom, this may happen. You might end up with a batch of rather angry high kobolds that think that you're less than them and don't deserve your freedom, and they might challenge your claim to your free self. And at that point, you might have to put them down in a way, but you'll need to be careful about it, and you'll need to make it very clear that you are defending yourself from unfair advances. I should be able to help you talk your way through it afterwards if that does happen. But if you can downplay yourself as best as you can, that would be best. Make yourself look big, but not vulnerable.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out. I could. Oh, that doesn't actually give me any disguise bonus. Well, so if I could actually change myself into another humanoid, it doesn't actually give a disguise bonus.
So the important thing here is that if you're changing your physical form, you're obviously not going to look like you, but no one knows what you are anyway, right? So you're not the disguise is kind of irrelevant. You're just shifting your form to something else.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if I could be more human looking, if that would cause less suspicion.
Yes, the more human that you could make yourself look, the less likely you are to run into problems.
Okay.
But there's a key to making yourself not look too valuable as a human, but also look valuable enough that nobody wants to kind of get in your way.
Okay.
I'm going to put valuable in quotes. I guess I should say dangerous enough that no one wants to get in your way.
Yeah, I think my best bet might be alter self. I can change to another humanoid. It gives me a slight strength bonus, so I guess I'd look a little bit stronger than normal, as opposed to changing to a little wimpy elf or whatever.
So there's one thing that we need to do here though with your spellbook, because your spellbook is not waterproof.
That's true.
And so I'm gonna roll when you're looking to retain or to use some of the spells you don't normally use. I'm gonna roll real quick a chance that the page is maybe stuck to another page or something has happened. But presumably you had it bagged up. It's been able one of the first things you probably did was took it out, let it dry as best you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess if I was passed out for some period of time, it would be worth ruling when I polymorph. Everything I'm wearing or have on my possession merges into my form.
Right, but you were in the water far after your polymorph expired. Yeah. So this isn't a super high chance. No, you're fine. You can get the page for alter self open, or the pages for alter self. Get to those pages just fine.
Yeah, that I'm knowledge pooling for that anyways.
Okay.
So I guess if I do lose a spell, then I just have to always knowledge pool for it until I find a way to re-add it, kind of thing. Okay.
Yep.
But I'll deduct an arcane point and I'll prepare all up to self for the day. I guess if this the cold bolts let me out, and it was not in the morning after waking up, and I wouldn't be preparing spells, and I'll just wait a day before going out.
No problem.
Yeah. I don't have this in my sheet yet, so I'll just paste it here.
No problem. So one of the things you will notice as you're moving about here, as you finally get outside of this building, is they weren't kidding. It's always it's not dark here. It's not nighttime. You can see that you can see the suns in the sky, but you have to actively look at the sky to see the suns in the sky. The light level is always kind of the same. It's always overcast here at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So the light level is always about the same, whether it be morning or night. Because at night the city has its own luminescence to it, and so everything will kind of hold at about the same light level at all times.
Okay. I'll do my usual pre-buffs and I will head out.
Okay. So yeah, you make your way into towards the city, and as you're walking about this building, you'll notice that you're basically on sort of a sandy long beach area, and there's a few little piers that have been built here, but the piers look very poorly constructed, as if somebody just they needed to get further out into the water, probably for fishing purposes or to cast off small boats, and so they just took whatever wood they could find, probably old ships that washed up, and built these piers. And as you look in the opposite direction, you can see the large wall that spans around the city with a bunch of buildings that are kind of interspersed throughout the area around it. So this is kind of a widespread area on the outside of the wall with lots and lots of homes, other businesses and buildings. But as you get closer, there is like a more central area that you can see off in the distance. There are more buildings behind the giant portcullis that stands off in the far distance. But this outer area seems to be like filled with people, whereas you don't see a lot of movement near where the portcullis is.
Okay. I'm kind of just taking this all in. Trying to keep my mouth shut as much as I can and just sort of follow Ayun's cues. If she says she needs me to walk closer to something to get a better eye at it, I'll just walk like towards it. But just trying to get into the city as like inconspicuously as possible.
Yep. So you are making your way through the city, kind of moving about. Ayun is kind of guiding you down specific routes that she knows are probably safer than others. Routes where if you turn this way and then turn down this way, you won't have to deal with like this family. And this family is known for looking to start fights or create problems. And so you feel like you're kind of zigzagging a lot through here. One of the things that you're learning from her is there are a lot of territorial disputes here. There are different smaller families that own a lot of these groups of houses or other buildings or businesses as you go through. And if you go sort of through the wrong areas, you'll find that there are like specific families that have a specific grudge against having non-people in their area or specific types of people. And one of them that she has you go down.
One sec. Moving my thing.
Yep. One of them that she has you go down, she kind of gets you to this point and then does a lot of like pre-explaining. Now there's one spot I can't quite get us around, but we're almost to where I think we need to be. But there may be some issues. They really enjoy challenging other people's either enslaved humans or especially free humans. They love trying to convince a free human that he should challenge one of theirs. And they'll offer some kind of reward, but if you lose, they'll claim you as property.
So you're saying there's probably nowhere we're getting in here without a fight of some sorts?
Potentially. I think if we move quick enough, we might be able to avoid it. Do you have any way, like what Arvos used to do, that you can make us get through here faster?
I could actually just blink us entirely, or I could make us invisible.
The invisibility might be best.
Okay.
I don't know what effects the blinking might have. It might draw attention to us.
I'm just clicking it so I can read it because I don't actually remember.
It's longer than the distance.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if
Yeah, it's like a quarter of a mile.
Okay. Yeah, then invis would last. Yeah, so we'll go on the invis route then.
Okay. Yeah, so you can wander your way through these like paths and other things, and eventually you get to a point where the building structure, like where you were at here, the building structure is probably like at your average like low cost construction. Things are put together, but not in a ramshackle way. They're put together well enough that these buildings will last for some time. But there's going to need to be a lot of maintenance that goes into these buildings to keep them up. But as you move into this next sort of territory, you notice that the overall quality of buildings has become much, much better. These are buildings that like could stand up to probably moderate weather patterns without needing like heavy maintenance. Many of them are either painted or colored in some way, have signs on them, whereas a lot of the other places, like, they didn't really have signs. They might have had stuff written on the building itself, but no real signage. As you get into here, you start noticing a lot of the patterns change, and it becomes more like what you're used to in regular towns or cities. We're not far now. There's a tribe that I think you could likely get along well with, and they would accept you and get you within the walls. if I can get you within the walls, there are 3 people that we could speak to, and each of those 3 people will give us a piece of what we need to make life a lot easier and get us one step closer to getting up, to maybe finding a way out of here.
Good. I'll just let me know if you know of anything that your people might interfere with invisibility. Otherwise, I'll just keep going this plan for now.
Okay.
I suppose it's the same efficiency as Alter Self at the moment, so long as people can't see through it.
Eventually, she will guide you to a moderately sized home. There isn't much of a yard. A lot of what is here is either like stone, dirt, or like small stones for landscaping. Just kind of depends on what people want. There've been no signs of grass or much vegetation at all wandering through this area. And as you come up, this has like a sort of a cobblestone walkway with these large, like almost like flooring you would see as like a yard. But a couple of like small statues in the center of each of them, in front of the building. This is the place. If you go up and you knock 4 times, pause for 2 seconds, knock 1 time, pause for 2 seconds, and then knock 2 times, they will let you in, or there will be somebody to greet you.
Okay, let me collect my thoughts. I'm knocking 4 times, pausing for 1 second, knocking once, pausing for 2 seconds, knocking 2 times.
Correct.
Okay. Going to look around, make sure it doesn't look weird. I'm just about to appear out of nowhere and dismiss my invisibility.
Yeah, give me a quick perception.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you look around, make sure the coast is clear, and yeah, you poof back into visibility.
I'm gonna go up to the door. Knock 4 times. Pause for a second. Knock again. Pause 2 seconds. 2 more knocks.
There is a brief silence, and then the door creaks open just slightly. Who sends you? You can tell them me.
Does the name Ayun mean anything to you?
I have not heard that name in a very long time. The door will slowly open. Please, come in, come in.
Thank you. I'll step inside.
The door will close. They'll close the door behind you. As you get inside, you will notice that this is a much taller version of what you saw out at the docks. This stands about your height, still with that sort of reptilian face, but scrawny arms and legs and a bit of a long neck. But they wear a long flowing kind of blue toga, and they have on it a insignia that looks sort of like one of their heads, but it has like some blue highlighting in the eyes and some long drapey blue bits along it, but the rest of it looks to be gold. How do you know Ayun?
She's one of my closest friends and companions. She has been with me too much.
We have not seen her in a very long time. You're sure that you've seen her? That you know her? I don't think you would speak that name if you didn't. It would be a dangerous name to speak in these parts.
Her physical form might be gone, but you could possibly understand that someone as powerful as she, given her ancestry, her spirit could persist in many forms. Her spirit is with me right here, right now.
Like a ghost?
I'd say stronger than a ghost. At times, I feel she actually connects with my physical abilities. She and I have a bond.
I feel a bit confused, but I'm trying to understand. Please bear with me. This is a close bond that the two of you shared.
We still share it.
So, is she here now?
In a sense, yes. I have promised to help her find her peace from the wrongs that have been done to her. So far, that quest has brought me here.
I'm sorry. Perhaps we should exchange better pleasantries. You are
Maldronicus, Mal for short.
I am. Damn it! I should have pulled up the name while I was doing this. I was trying to. Then I done fucked up. Ruined the immersion. Ruined it all. I am Nuvuk Blue Scale.
Luke.
Nuvuk. Nuvuk. Blue Scale. Yep.
That is a interesting name, Navuk. May I ask, I'm not familiar with your culture. Is it common that the family names around here, are they related to the heritages of your draconic nature?
Loosely. We have kept for some time some hearkening back to where we come from, at least if we are of a more noble line. You'll notice that out there in the distance there are many that don't have anything more than a simple name, mostly a sound, often no direct family name. They are all simply children of each other, in a way. Here we honor the families that we came from, but we always keep the way.
You seem like a good person, Navuk, and I appreciate you letting me in. I'm just gonna sort of do like a gauge on if she seems like when I mentioned Ayun, and the more I talk about Ayun, does she seem to have a...
This is a he. Sorry, I know
Sorry,
the vocal pattern is more feminine, but this is a male with a more feminine voice.
He seems to have fond thoughts of Ayun. He doesn't seem to be thinking in a way of taking this to some advantage.
No, he seems genuinely like surprised, one, that you know her, but he's also regarding you with a higher with like a higher status than like normally you would probably get, because you know who she is. And his implication earlier that that's not a name that anyone would speak around here willingly, kind of ties together the fact that his interest in talking to you is more genuine, and that he probably has no ill will towards either you or her.
Not everybody has the gift, but if your connection to her was strong, Perhaps you could exchange limited amounts with her. I'm not going to hurt you, and I'm just going to slowly draw up Ayun, and without grabbing her by the hilt, I'm just going to grab her by the blade.
He'll still step back cautiously as you
Yeah.
draw a blade, but he doesn't like make any quick motions. He just like tries to get out of what would be like stabbing distance with his step.
But, I'm just going to take her like by the actual dull side of the blade. Is there a dull side to a scimitar?
It's a scimitar, so you could grab the back of the blade.
So the back is dull, right?
Yeah.
So I grab by the dull end and I just sort of hold the hilt out.
He'll take the hilt and he'll look at the hilt.
And I'm just watching him to see if he seems to be hearing anything or having anything.
Do you know what this is? He points to the head of the to the hilt of the scimitar.
Oh, he's pointing at the symbology.
Yeah.
I can't say I do. Ayun can't look at herself, so she hasn't ever been able to tell me what that is.
I've never seen anyone craft something like this. It's the symbol of the Elder. No one knows about this. No one that could make something like this would know with this level of detail what one of them would look like.
Let me see if there's anything. Don't really do much. I'm just double checking there's nothing I can do to help his understanding. It's a weird take, I guess, but if he is a blue drake and Ayun was also a blue drake, maybe I'll just activate the energy attunement ability of it and see the lightning she shoots out, the little bit of extra lightning she shoots out. Maybe it's something signature to her that he would recognize.
He sees the lightning and it kind of like shoots up the blade, and he's like, how did that happen?
As I said, Ayun is not gone. She's with us in this room, and that very blade. It keeps her safe, and I keep the blade safe.
She's here.
I'm sure she could probably hear every word you're saying, but I don't know if you could hear her if you have not felt the connection yet after touching it.
He'll extend the blade back to you. I don't hear anything.
I take the hilt back.
As you take the hilt back, you can hear, I wish I could tell him. I wish I could tell him. He can't hear me. He can't hear it.
What do you want to tell him, Ayun?
Tell him that I am as well as I can be, and this was my choice.
She wants you to know that her health is well, Nivok. And that, although her situation is complicated, I have made sure that she is happy here, and she herself is very expressive of her contentness to exist in this state. She and I have done much good, and I believe there is still more good to do.
What do you mean by that you've done much good?
The world, I'm sure on this island you are so isolated. The world seems at times that some of the history of the gods has discouraged some that many would look to for inspiration. This has opened the door at times for very greedy people to make the best of the situation, but only for themselves. I hope, in whatever small ways that my party has done, we've undone some of these. It is the best we can do in a world that you kind of have to look after your own back sometimes, Nivok. And that's what Ayun does for me.
She would want to make things better. It is why she is no longer here. She sought to break away from the powers that would keep hold of the cove.
Yes. I believe from the memories she has shared with me that if she had not made that decision to exist in this state, she would probably not exist at all. But instead, here she is, with me, a chance to do things right this time.
She was quite clearly slated for death. I remember when news came of the raid, the only hope we had was that no one could speak to her beyond her death. They attempted to query her in her dead form, trying to get answers, and even with the strongest magics, they could not stir a voice from her corpse. It was kept secret, however, but I have contacts within the circles by which news travels, and I kept close to them during this time. If you're back here, there must be some reason. Or if you're here, there must be some reason. It's not every day that somebody not of this place arrives. How did you get here?
You have been honest with me. I will be honest with you. I did not originally come to the cove. We were at a nearby location that fell out of the sky, if you would believe that. I had to swim to wherever I could, and I ended up here. To get here, I could not have swam it on my own. I befriended the sharks, and in some way I feel desperate, desperate, that I should be brought here. I worry that it may, in some ways, relate to, as Ayun has expressed, the constant growth of the cove.
I would say so. There is perpetual flooding the further out that we go. It's why the growth of the land has been priority one. Large amounts of waves, destructive forces, and the lack of light that we have are all believed to be curses pushed upon us by Deshrid for not making a fair arrangement for the land we are taking. Stealing the sea is a very, very problematic sin.
Yes, if you would believe, I have seen, in my very, actually young life, I have seen multiple wars fought over land. Just petty land. And what you're doing, trying to transform very terrain into something entirely else, I cannot imagine it will sit well. Deshret is, did I say that right this time?
Deshred with a D. But
with
many
a D.
people do actually say it with the T, so.
Okay. Deshred has sent me here, and it should be so fortunate that I tend to be very reasonable, and Ayun obviously has her reasons to see things for the best here. But if we can't reach a closure here, I can't imagine what the next thing Deshred will do to your people. as
It is.
powerful as your culture seems to be, the ocean is one of the most vast resources.
It has.
What hides there?
This all has been of some concern. It is the thing that Ayun spoke in her greatest worry about. There were many that even claimed that Ayun followed Deshrid, that she in some ways spoke to him or perhaps even worshipped him, believing that that was the only hope of creating some semblance of hope or chance against what might one day come. And to hear that now the sea itself brought you to us, and to hear you speak your words, I would be inclined to agree with you.
Well, Navuk, Ayun's been away for a very long time, and I'm not accustomed to your people. What would you recommend?
There are 3 others that believed in Ayun's purpose, but could not show the support they might have wished to. There is a chance that if you go to each of them, they will change their minds. Maybe see that action now is the best decision as opposed to falling into place. That maybe you are a warning from Deshrid. A symbol to say, if I can send one, I can send more.
That is consistent with what Ayun thought might work, but you have a more modern context on it, which adds a lot. Well, you and Ayun are in agreement on this. And you two are the only people I know here, so I will trust your judgment.
I am going to have to do something that does make me rather uncomfortable, though. You're going to need a way to travel about the Inner Sanctum, and free humans don't often get access to the Inner Sanctum. Would you be willing to act as my slave?
He probably says this, and like all sorts of memories flare out in my memory as I just like cringe at like the things and whatnot. But then I kind of think of like the lessons I've probably learned, the really just terrible things I've seen that people do. You know, like I'm thinking of the salamanders, I'm thinking of what the Kosh reach and the body lift tried, and I probably understand that I need to set aside my personal fears for this and just block it out and do it. And if he feels that making me or acting me make his slave would be a pivotal swing in the success of this, then I think like I would probably like after all that like pondering in my head, I would probably like just push it back, and I would just say I will do whatever it takes to get Ayun the justice that she deserves.
Then I must take a chance I've been thinking about for a long time. I thought I would have to use this for different reasons, but I think we can make this work. He starts walking out from the room and asks you to follow him. And he will guide you into a small study where he will pull a couple of scrolls from a desk. And we will find out what those scrolls are on the other side of a short break.